I love a good local radio, Washington Commanders radio network there with that call. Listen, there was a doink. They didn't even need to talk about it, though. They didn't even care. They just went straight for the win.
I love it.
It's, you know, it's local. That's it. That's what you love to hear. You want to hear that fire inside. So, yes, it's Jayden Daniels, the Commanders, going up against that #1 seed, the Detroit Lions. It's going to be just an epic game. Let's welcome in our Douzable and Mike Renner to discuss this matchup. Now, you think about the Commanders, the improbable run that they're on right now. We just saw the doink right there for the win. They have 6 wins when tied or trailing in the final 10 seconds of regulation or an OT this season. They've won 5 straight games on the final play from scrimmage. How do they consistently keep getting it done, Lige?
Well, Jenny, you know, you kind of looked at me crazy yesterday when I said there's no quarterback I trust more with the game on the line.
I did look at you crazy
Jayden Daniels. And then you just read that stat right there, right?
I know.
10 seconds or less, game on the line. If Jayden Daniels has the ball, they call him the Slim Reaper for a reason, because he's going to end your team. He's played out of this world, Mike, and it's rare to see a rookie quarterback have the poise that he has. Talking about some of those games, you can go back to the Philadelphia Eagles game. The Commanders had 5 turnovers that game, JD, and yet Jayden still put the team on his back and found Jamison Crowder with like 5 seconds left to win that game. Just go back to last week versus Tampa Bay Bucks. 3rd and 6 finds De'Ami Brown on a Bengay in-breaking route for 21 yards. And then right there, Kalaji Kancey has him in a vice grip. He just slowly stiff arms him, gets 4 yards, gets a first down, sets up Zane Gonzalez for a game-winning field goal. So this guy is unconscious with the football. And again, there's no quarterback I trust more this season. Let me go ahead and put that in parentheses.
This moment.
Than Jayden Daniels if the game is on the line.
Yeah, I have to echo what Jay said. Now, technically, one of those was Marcus Mariota. Got to give him a shout out. Jayden Daniels, I knew he was different in that Eagles game. When he threw a pick down the stretch, everyone thought that was the game-ending pick. Thought it was over, and it was like a 3rd down. He kind of had to throw it. It was a bad throw, but threw a pick. Goes down, gets a second chance, leads them down to a touchdown drive against one of the best, if not the best defense in the NFL. And it just seems like every single week, someone else blinks. Last week for the Tampa Bay Bucks, Baker Mayfield makes the boneheaded play on the fumble. The center makes the boneheaded play, snapping it early for the Bucks. Jayden Daniels doesn't. He makes the plays that look like a vet quarterback. Why are they the cardiac team? Well, it's because of Jayden Daniels.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm literally stealing that. I'm going to keep that forever.
The
cardiac commanders. And again, I want to continue to give your flowers on this because when you and I were talking yesterday, you were like, if we keep it a buck, the MVP conversation, Jayden Daniels should be in that conversation.
This is what I don't understand. If people are going to say the MVP is the most valuable player and Josh Allen deserves it, let's not forget the Commanders on offense essentially look the same except for 2 offensive line position. From the skill position group, it's exactly what it was last year. And they picked 2 overall, Mike. So if you want to talk about who's doing more with less, and I love scary Terry McLaurin, but Jayden Daniels has elevated his game as well. So if you want to say Josh Allen is the MVP, to me, no, Jayden Daniels is the most valuable player in the NFL because nobody saw this team in the NFC East going into the season. A lot of people thought that was one of the toughest divisions in football. And for the majority of the season, they led that division because of Jayden Daniels. So
we know,
if you want to talk about most valuable player, it's this guy on the screen right now in Jayden Daniels.
Yeah, it has just been really special to watch what he's been able to do in his rookie season. If we look at the other side of this matchup, though, Jared Goff, MVP season, over 4,600 yards, 37 touchdowns, and just this Lions offense in general has been so difficult for teams to manage. They have the best points per game, point differential, all of that. So, Mike, on the flip side of that, for this Commanders defense, what's the key to success in containing Jared Goff and the Lions offense?
It's stopping the run.
For
They're
sure.
going to have to.
Especially with David Montgomery practicing.
It's good. Easier said than done, right? This is the 6th worst run defense in the NFL this year in terms of EPA per rush. So it's going to be tough. You're going to have to put all your resources doing it, but you have to do it because the Lions actually and the Commanders, they play similar brands of offense football. They are very methodical moving the football down the field, but it starts with those first down runs gaining 4+ yards. The Lions do it better than anyone else in the NFL. If you get 4+ yards on first down, that means Jared Goff can take whatever he wants on second down. That second down drop back pass, it can be that over the middle to Amon-Ra St. Brown, or it could be the deep shot to Jameson Williams. You have to guard all of it. It opens up the entire playbook for Ben Johnson, and when that's the case, you really are toast defensively. So it's going to start with stopping those first down runs.
All right, so Lijay, how does Washington keep pace with the Lions offense?
Well, they got to kind of do what they did last week. I went back and watched that game, the Commanders versus the Bucs. Then you know the Commanders outpossessed them by almost 11 minutes on the clock. They had a drive, their second scoring drive, matter of fact, with 17 plays, Mike, in 9 minutes. So sometimes your best defense is your offense. Keeping Jared Goff and that offense on the sideline. That's what the Commanders have to do to help their defense, because to Mike's point, that's a well-balanced breakfast over there when you talk about the Detroit Lions. The offensive line, the way they're physical at the point of attack, the run game, and even Jared Goff is allowed to go to his third progression because the offensive line is so good, they hold up in protection. So if you're the Commanders, you have to do what you've done all year. Possess the football more than the other team to keep that offense on the sideline.
Yeah, there are two things that I think the Commanders could do offensively. One is just they're facing the Detroit Lions defense. This defense has not been good. I mean, just last month they gave up 48 to the Bills. They gave up 34 to the 49ers. And there's no, you know, some guys are coming back from injury, but they're not on the defensive side of the ball that come back. So this is that same defense walking through that door. And the other is get Jayden Daniels involved in the running game. They did it last week. 13 carries. He was their leading rusher in that game. I think they can do or should do even more of it, because this is it. This is your season right here. And once you get him involved in the running game, that opens up so much more for that offense, and it's just so difficult to try to track down these bigger linebackers for the Detroit Lions. Trying to find him in space, it's just going to be difficult for them.
Let's talk about the Lions, really, though, and what they've been able to accomplish. They're the #1 seed in the NFC, and they did it in convincing fashion in that game against the Vikings, where everyone was picking Minnesota to win that game. So, Lijay, when you look at the Lions and just what they've become over the last couple of years under Dan Campbell, what excites you about them being this #1 seed?
Well, I always say this. I picked the Lions to win that game just because.
Brush your shoulders out.
You know, just that offense, and a lot of people panicked when they had the injuries on defense. Mike, and I kept saying, when you look at this offense, they can go toe-to-toe with anybody. They can literally put up 40 against everybody. So I told everybody, have some patience. I love Aaron Glenn. I feel like he was going to change some things up. Now, he still predominantly brought a lot of pressure and played man, but guys have stepped up. Amik Robinson, what he did last week to Justin Jefferson, few corners can do in this league. He stepped up big time. It seems like Terrion Arnold will be back. That was a major concern coming in this game as well. And they probably have the best tandem at safety in the league. So, yes, they give up a lot of yards and points, but they're opportunistic as well when you look at this defense, right? +9 in a turnover margin. They may give up a lot of yards and points, and that's what has me excited about this team. As far as playing complementary football, offense, defense, yes, they give up yards, but they turn you over as well. And I think that's what gives the Lions the advantage in this game.
To me, the biggest difference between last year and the 2 years ago Lions team that were like very good offenses, but not this juggernaut that we've seen this year in this year's team, it's Jameson Williams. It's the emergence of this vertical threat. He's kind of a decoy in that offense. He's a guy that does a lot of runoff routes, whether it's, you know, pure verticals, overs, things of that nature that are just speed routes, but he's so good at them and so deadly and has so much gravity that safeties, corners, they have to fall much deeper. That opens up so much more underneath for this offense. And he went over 1,000 yards this year as basically just this kind of like secondary option. They can hit you over the top more than they ever could before, and I think that's why this Lions offense, they just have your head spinning defensively.
Lijay, Mike, don't go anywhere. We got much more coming from you guys. This is going to be an exciting matchup. We got to see if the Commanders can do it again. I'm trying to think, if I was a fan, like, do you want to win by a large margin, or do you love that feeling of that last-second victory?
I want to win by a big margin. Don't give me, unless it's the cardiac Commanders, and I trust them to make it, but give me a blowout.
I want it down to the wire. You think you're out, and then all of a sudden, this magic moment that brings you back. Now, remember, though, when it comes to the Lions and the fans, they're one of 4 teams to have never made a Super Bowl. So you got to give the Lions a little bit of love here as well.